It was a cold autumn evening in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Manchester, England. The sky was turning gray, and a gentle wind carried dry leaves across the empty street. David Miller, a 68-year-old retired biker, slowly rode his old motorcycle down the narrow road, heading back home after visiting a nearby grocery store. David had spent most of his life traveling on the open road. For more than 40 years, his motorcycle had been his closest companion. But since his wife passed away 3 years ago, the road felt lonelier than ever. His children lived in different cities, busy with their own lives, and most days, David found comfort only in short rides around town. As he turned a corner near a small park, something unusual caught his attention. A small golden-colored dog was running nervously along the sidewalk, barking softly and looking around as if searching for someone. The dog's fur was slightly dirty, and its collar hung loosely around its neck. David slowed his motorcycle and pulled over to the side of the road. "Hey there, little fella," he called gently, removing his helmet. The dog stopped and looked at him, its tail wagging slowly but cautiously. Its eyes were full of confusion and fear, as if it had been wandering for hours. David stepped off his bike and crouched down carefully, extending his hand. "Oh, it's okay, boy. I won't hurt you." The dog hesitated for a moment, then slowly walked toward him. Within seconds, it pressed its head against David's hand, seeking comfort. David could feel the dog trembling slightly. He looked around the quiet street, though there was no one nearby, no owner calling, no child searching. "It looks like you're lost," David murmured softly. Without thinking twice, he gently picked up the dog and placed it carefully in front of him on the motorcycle seat. The dog sat quietly, as if it trusted him completely. "Let's find your family," David said with a small smile. He rode slowly through the neighborhood, stopping at every corner and asking passersby if they recognized the dog. Some people shook their heads, others paused to look, but no one knew where the dog belonged. As the evening grew darker, David realized the dog might have been lost for quite some time. Finally, he decided to take the dog home for the night. Inside his modest house, David placed a bowl of water and some leftover food on the kitchen floor. The dog ate hungrily, wagging its tail with gratitude. David watched quietly from the table, feeling an unexpected warmth in his chest. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel empty. That night, the dog curled up beside David's chair as he watched television. Every now and then, the dog would look up at him as if silently saying thank you. The next morning, David woke up early with a clear plan. He carefully cleaned the dog, brushed its fur, and checked the collar. Attached to it was a small metal tag with a name engraved on it. "Ebuddy," David read aloud. Below the name was a phone number. David immediately reached for his phone and dialed the number. After a few rings, a woman answered. "Hello?" Her voice sounded worried. "Good morning," David said politely. "I believe I found your dog, buddy." There was a sudden silence on the other end. Then the woman gasped. "Oh my goodness, we've been looking for him all night." Her voice began to shake with emotion. "Oh, my son hasn't stopped crying since yesterday. Buddy ran away during the storm, and we couldn't find him anywhere." David smiled softly, glancing down at the dog, who was wagging its tail happily. "Well, he's safe," David replied. "You can come pick him up anytime." Less than 30 minutes later, a small car pulled into David's driveway. A young boy no older than 9 jumped out before the car even stopped moving. "A buddy!" he shouted. The dog instantly recognized the voice and ran toward him, barking excitedly. The boy dropped to his knees and hugged the dog tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I thought I lost you forever," the boy cried. David stood quietly near the doorway, watching the emotional reunion. The boy's mother approached him with grateful eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "You have no idea what this means to us." David nodded humbly. "It was nothing," he replied. Anyone would have done the same, but deep inside, he knew that wasn't entirely true. As the family prepared to leave, the little boy suddenly ran back toward David. He wrapped his arms around the old biker's waist in a tight hug. "A thank you for saving my best friend," he whispered. David felt his throat tighten. For a moment, memories of his own children flashed through his mind. Their laughter, their small hands holding his, the years that had passed too quickly. He gently placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Take good care of him," David said warmly. "I will," the boy promised. As the car drove away, David stood quietly in his driveway, watching until it disappeared down the road. Then he turned back toward his house. The silence returned, but this time it felt different. Not empty, not lonely, just peaceful. Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness, helping a lost dog, comforting a child, doing the right thing, can fill a heart in ways nothing else ever could. And for David Miller, a retired biker who once believed his best days were behind him, that simple act of kindness became one of the most meaningful moments of his life